Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 24th of August 2022. We've got lots to discuss with you. And we will be beginning with our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's official visit to Qatar. This is a two-day official visit. He has already met with many of the important people, many of the leaders from Qatar, as well as the business community. What he is trying to do is not only to forge a stronger collaboration, cooperation, and friendship and relationship between Qatar and Pakistan, but also to enhance Pakistan's economic relationship with Qatar. In that context, he has, of course, met with the different businessmen and the business leaders in Qatar as well, so as to enhance Pakistan's economic capacity and capability. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the floods and the latest situation as far as the floods and the monsoons are concerned in Pakistan. We all know about the devastation that the floods have caused this year, and because of that, the Prime Minister has urged the nation to donate as much as possible to help the flood-hit regions. Also, the European Union has announced 76 million rupees for crucial humanitarian assistance. Others are also joining in as far as helping Pakistan is concerned, and the rains haven't ended. They still continue in different parts of Balochistan and Pakistan. We'll be talking about that in detail, the measures taken, the devastation caused, and what needs to be done in order to prevent Pakistan from such future disasters in our second segment. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's official two-day visit to Qatar, where he's met with the Qatari leaders, where he has met with the business delegations, and where he is highlighting not only the collaboration and cooperation between Pakistan and Qatar, but also the need for stronger economic ties between the two countries. More in the following report.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was accorded a red carpet welcome as he landed in Doha on a two-day official visit to hold in-depth consultations with the leadership and interact with the business community to highlight Pakistan's investment potential. On the invitation of Amir of the State of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, this is Prime Minister's first visit to Qatar since assuming office in April 2022. Pakistan and Qatar have reaffirmed their resolve to further enhance bilateral cooperation, particularly in trade and investment domains. The visit comes as a $2 billion grant from Qatar was confirmed in bilateral support to help ease Pakistan's funding crunch and the consequent risk of default. During the Prime Minister's meeting, the two sides will review the entire spectrum of bilateral relations with a particular focus on advancing energy-related cooperation, deepening trade and investment ties, and exploring great employment opportunities for Pakistanis in Qatar. Pakistan wants to transform the historical bilateral relationship into a more robust strategic relationship. Qatar is home to more than 200,000 Pakistanis who are contributing to the progress, prosperity, and economic development of the two brotherly countries, and it's high time to further bolster this time-tested friendship.
Omar Karim, who's a researcher at the University of Birmingham, joins us online. Omar, thank you very much to have joined us. Omar, how important do you feel is this visit of Shehbaz Sharif Sahab and his entourage of cabinet ministers to Qatar in the current context, geopolitical, geostrategic, geoeconomic, and also the fact that Pakistan wants to strengthen itself economically?
I think this is a very important visit because it is happening in the backdrop of two or three very important developments. Of course, Pakistan has always had very cordial relationship with Qatar, and this relationship was very much apparent during the Gulf split, in which Qatar and its neighbors were arrayed against each other, and Pakistan didn't take any resolution of the conflict through. So I think that showed to the Qatari leadership that Pakistan is a nation that values highly its relationship with Qatar, and the latest developments in the bilateral relationship, especially regarding the agreement for Pakistan to provide security to the FIFA World Cup, and afterwards the Qatari decision to provide Pakistan with financing of up to $2 billion about possible Qatari interest in investment in Pakistan of up to $3 billion dollars. So this is really interesting, and this is really taking the relationship to the next level. But this also shows the nature of how close are the two leaderships, and also a shared nature of their strategic goals. Because Pakistan providing security to the FIFA World Cup held in Qatar is a mark of trust by the Qatari leadership on the
Of course, this
security
shows the trust
sector.
that the
And
Qatari leadership has in Pakistan. And you were talking, Omar, about the economic prosperity and the relationship between the two countries, and what are the prospects as far as further strengthening the relationship between the two countries. I'd like to, of course, highlight two very important meetings that were held. The first, of course, was the Pakistan-Qatar Trade and Investment Roundtable 2022, and the other was the meeting with the Qatar Investment Authority in Doha. How important are these two meetings? Because, of course, it brings together not only the Qatari business leaders, but also investors who want to invest in Pakistan or who want to collaborate with Pakistan in different facets of the economy.
I think these two meetings are really very important, because for the first time we are seeing a massive interest not only by the Qatari state but also different consortiums in Qatar in terms of investing in Pakistan. As you know, the current economic situation in Pakistan is relatively volatile. So all such measures, all such developments are really very encouraging. And as far as I know, the Qatari side is really very much interested in hospitality sector in Pakistan, because it has a lot of potential. They're also interested in the aviation sector in Pakistan, especially investing in the Pakistan International Airlines, and also in terms of general civil aviation infrastructure, cargo processing, and other such related aviation fields. So I think that the focus of this new Qatari engagement in the investment side will be upon aviation and hospitality sectors, but it will also gradually go into food processing, infrastructure development, and also you can say in the energy sector. So all of these, because $3 billion this worth is quite a lot in terms of foreign direct investment, because as we have seen, Qatar has been relatively on a lower scale in terms of the total foreign direct investment with regard to Pakistan, and we know China was the main player in this field. So this is encouraging and positive in every regard. It's really something very good for Pakistan and its economy.
Already we're talking about the $3 billion investment that Qatar wants to make into Pakistan. On the other hand, how much do you see the desire to further strengthen this economic relationship and even go beyond the $3 billion? This is just a pledge that has been made as far as the FDI is concerned. But do you feel, with all the meetings that our Prime Minister and his entourage are holding on different fora, meeting with the Qatari businessmen, meeting at the different roundtables, will this generate a desire from Qatar to further invest in Pakistan, to further strengthen the economic relationship between the two countries?
Definitely so, because the highest authorities from Pakistan, they are in Qatar and they are engaging with the Qatar's highest Qalians. And I must say that the desire had been even there before, because that's why these meetings are happening, and that's why the Pakistani side had been presenting these, you can say, ideas to the Qatari side, and they had shown interest. And now we can say we are in a more sort of finalizing phase of this engagement. Let me tell you something very interesting, which gives you an idea of how much important is this relationship and how much the trust has grown. Because I was in a meeting with a senior Qatari Foreign Office official, and she relayed to us that in terms of South Asia, Qatar considers Pakistan one of the most important partners, especially because of their joint stand on Afghanistan. And I asked her related to the security sector and Pakistan providing security to Qatar during the FIFA World Cup. And she was a little bit reluctant to commit anything. And she was mostly saying that we are talking with the Russians on this and it was a very British audience. So she went ahead. It meant that there was some significant cooperation. But after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I think that whole thing is off the table, and Pakistan, in any manner, is the most you can say dependable and trustworthy partner for Qatar in that domain. So I'm just trying to build up like a picture where Pakistan emerges as a dependable partner in the security domain, but also Qatar emerges as you can say a more interesting partner in the economic domain. So both sides are collaborating with each other, and this is only happening not only because the geopolitical realities both sides share these geopolitical their geopolitical interests and alignments, but also because over the time they have experienced that they can work with each other, and they have found in each other a dependable partner. So this is something really very interesting, and I think that in future we will only see this increasing to further heights.
All right, Umar, you talked about geopolitical realities. Now, we know one of the realities is the importance of Qatar in the Middle East. We know of its relationship with the West as well, the strong relationship that it has with the West as well. Another important geopolitical reality is the fact that both Qatar and Pakistan are on the same page when it comes to Afghanistan, and of course helping Afghanistan in this dire need in which it is presently stationed. What do you feel could the both countries do together collectively in order to stabilize Afghanistan?
I think that since last year, both countries have been engaging with each other and trying to, you can say, collaborate as much as possible to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan, and also to broker a wider engagement between the Taliban government in Afghanistan and the international community. To some extent, this has moved on as the US and EU have engaged with Taliban, especially in terms of the frozen funds of Afghanistan and how the international community can help Afghanistan. And I think that with regards to Pakistan, Pakistan has been completely supporting this stance in Qatar, and Pakistan has never, you can say, signaled that we are not happy with any of the Taliban engagement or Qatar. I think Qatar for Pakistan is a most is a very positive venue in terms of while we keep our own geopolitical interests in Afghanistan in view. And for that regard, I think Qatar's role in Afghanistan has enabled Pakistan itself to positively engage with the Taliban and also to look after its own geopolitical interests. And I think that as the international community also realizes that in one way or another it has to engage with the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, Qatar and Pakistan, I mean, of course, Pakistan has its own political issues when it comes to the international community. But Qatar, because of its proximity with the Western nations, can play a bridgehead on the Afghan file, but also in terms of Pakistan's own perspective on Afghanistan. And it has been happening.
So of course, Afghanistan is a commonality that
even more important.
So, of course, Afghanistan is a commonality that both countries share, and of course have a similar point of view as far as where to take Afghanistan forward and how to take it forward. And of course, we all remember the talks that were held in Doha, between the US and the then Afghan Taliban, and then of course further talks that were also held in Doha. So the importance of Doha is manifold as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Coming back to high profile meetings that have been held in Qatar, whether it be with the Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, whether it be with the Qatari Prime Minister and Minister for Interior, Sheikh Khalid bin Khalifa bin Abdulaziz Al Thani, whether it be with the father of the Amir of State of Qatar and Her Highness Sheikha Moza bint Nasir. How important do you feel these meetings also further strengthen the relationship between the two countries and understanding each other's perspective?
This is a very interesting question because you mentioned the Prime Minister and his entourage had meetings with the Qatari Amir, with the father Amir, with the Prime Minister, and with, of course, the Qatar's investment authority. So these are 4 or 5 different planks of, you can say, Qatari decision making. Minister being invited to all of these, you can say, decision-making centers, this shows that within the Qatari leadership, there is a complete unanimity when it comes to Pakistan, and there is an understanding that Pakistan is one of the most important players. But this also shows that in terms of taking the relationship a step forward and materializing Qatari investments into Pakistan, there is a unanimity of views within the Qatari state. That's why all of these meetings are happening. And I think one reason in all of this probably is also the background of our Prime Minister, because he has been known politically for implementation of mega projects, infrastructure projects, and such big development projects. So I think that the Qatari side, this must also have further encourage the Qatari side to engage with the Prime Minister and his entourage more comprehensively.
And of course, eventually with Pakistan, and to strengthen the relationship in different fields. You talked about aviation, we've also talked about infrastructure, energy sectors, and this is what our Prime Minister has also said: Pakistan and Qatar should synergize their efforts in the area of trade and investment. That is why the whole entourage is currently there, not only to strengthen the ties, but also to economically further cooperate between Qatar and Pakistan. Thank you very much, Umer Karim, a research fellow at the University of Birmingham, to have joined us, to have talked to us about the official 2-day visit of our Premier, Shehbaz Sharif Saab, along with his entourage to Qatar in order to further boost trade and investment with Pakistan. Thank you very much, Umar, to have joined us. Our next story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the situation as far as the floods and the rains in Pakistan is concerned. The devastation continues. People are still in the situation of plight. Nevertheless, whether it be our armed forces, our Pakistan Army, our Pakistan Air Force and their Jawans, whether it be the Frontier Constabulary, whether it be our government, the levies, the different provincial governments, they are all helping the people as much as they can to reduce their plight as much as possible. Nevertheless, the rains are again beginning, as far as the Met Department has announced as well. More in the following report, then we'll return with more on this.
Over the past few years, world has witnessed extreme weather patterns, from increasingly high temperatures in summer to heavy rains in some parts of the country and drought in others. From the heights of the Himalayas to the shores of the Arabian Sea, floods triggered by heavy rainfall continue to wreak havoc, destroying livelihoods and sweeping away entire settlements in Pakistan. As massive floods across Pakistan have so far claimed at least 830 lives since July, the government of Pakistan decided to launch an international appeal seeking funds for the relief and rehabilitation of flood-hit people and restoration of the damaged infrastructure. The 2022 monsoon season has been exceptionally challenging for Pakistan, as the country recorded 385% higher rainfall in Sindh and 371% higher rainfall in Balochistan, according to Pakistan Meteorological Department. Climate Change Minister Shahid Rahman called for immediate humanitarian and rescue efforts in the wake of devastating floods, as she admitted Pakistan was not able to cope with the situation on its own. Pakistan has long ranked among the most climate vulnerable countries in the world, according to the Global Climate Risk Index, which tracks the devastating human and economic toll of extreme weather events. According to the latest IPCC report, the world can still hope to stave off the worst ravages of climate breakdown, but only through a now or never dash to a low-carbon economy and society.
Dr. Shoaib Ahmed, who is a water resource management and analyst, joins us online. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, the devastation, the loss of lives, cattle, crops, property, and so on and so forth, and it hasn't ended. There is a new spell of rain that has been announced by the Met Department, and we are seeing the rains that are causing havoc all across Pakistan, but of course especially in Punjab, in Sindh, in Balochistan, as well as in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, with Balochistan being the most affected. When you look at the devastation caused, do you feel this was something that was expected? Do you feel it is due to climate change? Do you feel it is a recurring phenomenon and we need to take care of it? What is this year's monsoon related to, in your point of view?
On board, there's a very simple question to simple answer to this question is we do have a mechanism to cope with these kind of calamities, and we have plenty of institutions in Pakistan, those who are responsible for managing every single you can say component of these disasters. We have a climate change ministry, we have a ministry for water resources, we have a federal flood commission, WAPDA, meteorological department, Indus River System Authority, then National Council of Research on Water Resources. The answer to your question is that we are seriously lacking a well coordinated activity to face these kind of challenges. There's a very simple phenomena of managing any disaster is to prepare before. The preparedness is one of the most important component to face any disaster or to handle any big loss. And there's a very famous saying in disaster management: if you could spend $1 on its preparedness, that would save your $10 at the time of disaster. Now,
I think that's a very important statement, and this needs to be applied in letter and spirit. But this said, do you feel this year the rains that happened, were they expected? The calamity that we have seen, was it expected, or is it out of the ordinary?
No, it was expected because we are living in a very, very high-tech environment. Every single minutes count, and we have such a wonderful mechanism around the world that you can very easily predict. There may be, you can say, some sort of a larger or greater in a number of its magnitude, or you can say there may be a difference between the magnitude of that disaster, but there's a mechanism of forecast, and forecasts are available. There was a warning from the authorities that we are expecting a very heavy rain in Pakistan. So what we need to do at that time, that was very, very important to understand that we must have to mobilize our all resources. Now the question is, where were those resources when these calamities were hitting us? And at the same time, another very important and alarming factor is we are such an unfortunate, when it comes to the destruction caused by any disaster in Pakistan, we are such an unfortunate country that, the magnitude of loss as compared to any other country of the world, we experienced or we faced a lot of, you can say, loss as compared to rest of the world. The reason being, number one, there is a serious question on the infrastructure of our country. The type of houses, the type of construction material which we used in construction, in the construction of our bridges, our dams, our roads. There's a very serious question arising on that. There's a rain of, you can say, 1 hour rain and it destroys the whole road. How come? It is not possible in any developed country, or you may say the countries, those who are just even at the road of developing. There are so many countries in the world, those who are experiencing 24 hours torrential rain, and they are not being destroyed like this. So basically
it all comes to properly managing resources and properly adhering to the protocols at the right time, so as to avert disasters as and when they happen. We've seen the floods in 2010. We have seen now the floods also recurring in 2022, and of course the magnitude is quite strong. We've seen the effects it has had on live property and of course cattle and crops as well. But in this whole scenario, we just hope that all the organizations concerned come together as one, so as to foresee such disasters in the future as well. Dr. Pervaiz Ahmed, Director, Pakistan Water Partnership, joins us online as well. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, how much Is it important now for Pakistan, seeing the calamities that have happened this year, for it and its organizations, whether it be the public sector or the private sector, to be future ready to avert such disasters in the future?
I think this is going to be something which is going to reoccur on a much larger frequency. You can expect this every 2-3 years. Climate change, as it's sort of opening up, I mean, it's not that climate change is going to come. Climate change is already here, as you can see. This year, I mean, even if you look at this, just for Balochistan, that's for July only, the rainfall was 450 millimeters. We are going to get more rain. So this type of occurrence will happen. We've really not learned much from the 2010 floods, nor from the 2020 floods. We had a large flooding in Karachi, in Sindh, in Mirpur Khas, in these areas. We've not taken those lessons to heed. So just expect this to be a very recurrent. The frequency will be much more. It will be much more intense rainfall for a shorter period, but extremely intense rainfall. And you'll see many of these records which are being set, they'll be broken again and again.
All right, Dr. Saab, in this current scenario, you've said that this is something that's going to occur every 2 years. So in this case, what needs to be done in order to prevent such damage as we've seen in 2020, as we've seen in 2010, and as we've seen in 2022, to not happen in the future years as well, whether it happens in 2024 or maybe next year? And as Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable countries, the 8th most vulnerable country as far as climate change and its effects are concerned, what should be the priorities?
I think there are 4 or 5 things which we can do realistically. One is to not have populations in the riverine areas. What we have done is those which are our riverbeds, a lot of population is residing in those areas. That's where it hurts the most. We need to first of all have a GIS mapping of all the most hotspots and vulnerable areas within Pakistan as far as flooding goes and as far as droughts go. These are 2 things which go hand in hand. So that's the first step you can do. Second is attenuation. If we had 3 of the main dams which were proposed earlier in 1960s, we would not be facing much of this problem, you know. I mean, there would not be any flooding coming out on the Indus. We would be able to capture that. If we had diverted our waters on which come in from India on the Ravi into our areas, Cholastan, into Thal, into Tharparkar, we would save a lot of the populations. Balochistan is very unique.
All right. Finally, Dr. Saab, how important do you feel is the importance of making more and more water reservoirs so as to not only conserve the water that is collected due to the rains, but also to use it in the future as well, and also not so that the water does not accumulate in the streets, does not flood the homes?
Yeah, the first thing is to save as much water as you can, hold it back so that we don't flood it into our river system. And if you can hold it back, you can use it later. And it's very valuable water. In 2010, we lost something like $50 billion worth of water, you know. And so what you want to make sure is, A, save that resource as much as you can. The issue when it comes to these urban floodings and the floods which are taking place in some of the smaller towns, it's basically drainage. We have never ever, and when we make a road, we never invest in drainage on the road system. Unless you have drainage, you know, where you can, water comes in and water goes out, there is a way left in for water. When you don't provide water and outlet, what does it do? It will accumulate. So drainage should be very high priority. Second is the type of infrastructure we build. We build basically roads so that they get broken and we rebuild them and we could make money out of maintenance. We have to get out of this rut. You build a road, I mean, it's no longer these old roads which you would build with bitumen and all that. You know, there are new structures coming up with cement and these other structures we're seeing on our motorways. They are much more resilient. So Pakistan has to really start rethinking how it wants to go with its infrastructure.
That's a very important point. Rethinking strategy as far as how to go with infrastructure is concerned. Kindly stay online with us, Dr. Saab. We have another guest with us also, Dr. Shoaib. Dr. Shoaib, I hope you must be listening to what Dr. Pervaiz Amir had to say, and there were a lot of interesting and important points that he has raised during our conversation. As far as water storage capacity is concerned in Pakistan and water storage issues that Pakistan has had and proper water drainage issues that Pakistan has had, that leads to situations such as floods. Do you feel this is going to be a quick fix, or do you feel it's going to take time?
Actually, I don't know when we talk about time, how much time we would again need to cope with these type of things. We have already celebrated our 75th anniversary, and still we are waiting for the time to come and see to do things like that. No? Um, I'm so fortunate that I've done my PhD on this large reservoir, that Kalabagh Dam, and the site is still there. The planes are still there, the catchment area is still there, and just the doctor was saying that if we could have the different sites, if we mark properly, and if we could divert that water into those areas, we could save this country from ruining like that. No? This is such a mechanism which will have to start working on it. We must not wait for, you can say, another this kind of calamity. We should start right now, and to
Okay.
make sure that there must be a very well coordinated activity between
There
all
needs to be a
these.
very well coordinated activity. I totally get you on that. Thank you very much to both of my guests, Dr. Shoaib, Ahmed, Water Resource Management Analyst, and Dr. Pervaiz, Amir, Director, Pakistan Water Partnership. With that, we come to an end of this show. We know about the issues that are plaguing Pakistan. We need to be collectively working on that. We'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.